Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of the Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the oldest topics as far as starting a business, whether it be a food truck or any other business, and that is, where do I find the money? We get asked that question very frequently on our Facebook group. Someone will have an idea and they think the first thing to do is join a Facebook group and then ask, how did y'all find money? So let's answer that question. How did y'all find money? Well, the first obvious way to start your food truck business is to self-fund. And what that means is you will have saved money, or you already have access to money, whether it be through equity in your house, whether it be through a 401k that you can take out a loan against. Could be your savings account. Many people self-fund. Where the business falls apart is people don't repay themselves for having self-funded. And they'll say, hey, I haven't made any money. That's because you haven't decided to pay yourself back. Buying inventory, selling it, and then buying more inventory to sell it instead of running a business. A food truck is not buy inventory and sell it. There's a whole lot more to it than that. But you got to understand, self-funding means you're the one that's putting up the cash up front. Now, what do you do if you don't have any cash? Because that seems to be where everyone is. I want to start my own food truck because I have this awesome recipe and I also have zero money. There's a couple things that you can do, and we'll talk about those here in just a second. But the first and easiest one is to investigate cottage food laws in your state. Now, cottage food laws in most cases will not be the end-all, be-all as far as your business goes. What cottage foods are, in very general terms, because each state is a little bit different, but basically it's a food that doesn't require any kind of refrigeration after it's prepared, so it's shelf-stable. And it's also foods that are not served hot. Also foods, again, no refrigeration, so not served cold. They're served at room temperature. And then there's limitations in what can be included in those foods. So we're talking baked goods like cookies and brownies, breads, pizza crust without anything else but just the actual crust itself. You can do, in a lot of cases, herb mixes that don't require refrigeration. You can do dried seasonings and dry seasoning mixes. And there's some other foods, hard candies, for example, that you can cook in a home kitchen. Some states require inspection, some do not. And then there's a certain way to label the food so that the consumer, number one, is warned that the food was prepared in a kitchen that has not had benefit of an inspection. So for a lot of people, that's a red flag, because a home kitchen could have the cat walking on the counter. It could have birds everywhere. It could have kids running around with snotty noses and wiping their nose and then touching the counters and stuff. It's your home. You can do whatever you want with it. But when you start to prepare food that you're going to be selling to the public, that changes the quality of sanitation. And for some people, me in particular, I know how some people live in their homes. I would not buy food that is labeled prepared in a kitchen that has not had benefit of inspection. But there's a whole bunch of people that don't understand what that means and will buy the food. Second thing, it's got to be on the label. It's got to be a certain font size, and it's got to explain exactly what the food is and if there's any potential allergens in it. So if you're cooking something with nuts, for example, that has to be very broadly disclaimed so that the consumer knows what they're getting. So cottage foods is a way to get started in business, is a way to satisfy your creativity as far as cooking goes, and it could lead to a decent amount of money. But your goal is not to be super profitable. Your goal is to set aside money to be able to buy that food truck, food trailer, hot dog cart, whatever it is you're wanting. So cottage foods is a way to get started. And it also keeps you cooking, so it helps to satisfy your creativity as far as cooking goes. Can you make money and it lead to a food truck or food trailer? Yes, you can, if you're doing the cottage foods. you're also building up your client base so that people are excited when you do get the food truck or food trailer and can expand your menu. So cottage foods is one way. And again, I mentioned if you have equity in a home, if you have a 401k that you can take out a loan against, those are ways to self-fund and get started. But any money that you put into the business should be paid back to you. So if you take that 401k or you take out a loan against your home doing the equity, you should set aside money every month just as if it's a loan payment to a bank to repay whatever money you poured into the business. Otherwise, you'll be very frustrated. Oh man, I'm working all this hard and not making any money. Well, let's get you made whole again, as they say in the legal world. If you put money in, the business should be paying you money back. You can do the obvious, and that's go to a bank and ask for a loan. Typically, people that are going on a Facebook group to say, how do I get money to start my food truck, probably don't have an existing relationship with a bank. Otherwise, they'd went there first. Now, what do I mean by an existing relationship? That means whoever you have your savings account and checking account with, hopefully is a local bank, and it's somebody that recognizes you when you go in. You want to have that personal relationship with a banker, and then you talk to them about what kinds of personal loans they can do, what kinds of business loans they can do, and get their input on what you need to do. If you don't have a banking relationship right now, start one, and don't start one online. It's called personal banking. You want to go in, you want to be recognized, the teller should know who you are, certainly the loan officer should know who you are, because as you're going in every week and making deposits or every week and cashing your paycheck, they get to know who you are and see that, oh, there's regularity in this person. They come here every week, every 2 weeks. You got to have that relationship because you will need it once you open your business. Whether the bank funds it or not doesn't matter. You're going to need to buy change. You're going to need to make cash deposits. You're going to need to break up the bills that people give you, the 50s and 100s. Because again, the money that you bring into the business has also got to pay for other things inside the business. And then hopefully you have a lot of money left over for yourself. But we're not talking about how to be profitable. We're talking about how to get money to start your business. If you can't do a bank loan, or you can only get a small bank loan, check out the Small Business Administration. Now, the Small Business Administration, the SBA, does not do grants. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that again because there's a million people every day that are posting, SBA just released money, it's a grant, no payback required, inbox me, email me, blah, blah, blah. Those people have a big S on their forehead, and it's not for Superman, it's for scammer. SBA, Small Business Administration, their mandate from the government is to guarantee a loan. Typically, they guarantee 80% of the loan. So that means the bank's going to want you to have 20% in some type of equity that they can use to secure the remaining 20%. Now, there are all various kinds of loans, and people tend to do a little teeny tiny bit of research, and they look for the thing that will make an SBA loan not viable for them. For example, I recommended SBA loans to somebody just a week or so ago, and their comment was, the SBA doesn't do small loans. Well, that's not true. They have micro loans. They have all kind of programs to get people started. So this person just did a little bit of research, trying to find something to say the SBA won't work for them. And as soon as they saw that sentence, they said, oh, it won't work for me. The SBA does work. I know a number of people that have gotten various amounts from the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Administration, the SBA, guarantees a loan, which means you still have to go to a bank. And it's a bank that's typically partnered with the Small Business Administration. So they know all the ins and outs of what is required both on the loan side and on the SBA side. And then they'll fund the loan. So a bank still is funding the loan. The government, the SBA, is just saying, we believe in this person, please give them money. And if they default on the loan, we're going to repay the bank 80% of that loan. So it's a guarantee. So the bank has no risk. That's all the Small Business Administration does. If you go onto their website and look up grants, they will tell you they only do grants for communities, and you're not a community. You are a small business. So the SBA does not do grants. So don't fall for the scammers. You can take on investors. Now, this is one of those I would be super hesitant about because when I've taken on partners in the past, they typically think they know everything and very rapidly prove themselves to not know crap about food service. So when you take on a partner, they need to be a silent partner, which means give me money and you shut up and I'll turn it into profit for you and profit for me. If they think they're going to manipulate the business in some way, then that's not the partner for you, no matter how much money they got, because it will end badly. Because what they're looking for is, I'm going to give you, $100,000, let's say, to get your business started, but I'm going to want to see money coming back into my pocket fairly quickly. That should be in the form of a loan repayment. You don't want them having their hands in your profitability, because they're going to complain. No matter how much money you make, it won't be enough. And believe me, I have yet to see an investor that was patient, because investing in a food truck is not one of those get-rich-quick schemes that an investor really wants. They want to put in $100,000 and next month make $200,000. So be super careful when you take on a partner. They need to know what their role is going to be as far as the operations of the business goes, and their input into the profitability and how those profits are going to be shared. Do not get excited by somebody that says, yes, I'll back you. Your food's awesome. I'll give you $100,000, and then just be willing to take whatever terms they offer. If the terms do not make sense financially for the business, all you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. But you can find people that will invest. You can do crowdfunding. And what that means is you have an existing guest base. So if you've been doing cottage foods, for example, at some point during that cottage food journey, when you've built up a few dozen, if not a few hundred reliable customers, you want to start to do a crowdfunding and get them to invest in the business to help you get to the food truck, food trailer, whatever it is you need to buy. For example, Kickstarter. Kickstarter is business focused. Go onto their website and learn all about them. You could do a GoFundMe, which is probably not the best way to start a business, but there have been successful people do it. But the idea is that you're keeping it local. So you don't want to start up a Kickstarter and then put it on a national group like mine or some of the others, because people will just ignore you. You'll think, well, Bill's got 73,000 followers, so I'll put it there so a bunch of people will give me money. If they just each give me $1, I'll be great. Not how it works. People see Kickstarters and GoFundMes on big groups like that as just being a money grab, to where you're not actually helping the group at all. All you want is them to give you money, and you're going to go away and never be seen again. But you can do a Kickstarter when you're involving people that know who you are, that can go taste your food, that are existing customers, and then hopefully their personal friends and family can help expand your network to get more people to donate a little bit and be a part of your starting business. And then there's other crowdfunding that's more of a crowdfunding loan. Kava, you can look them up, or Cabbage, or Honeycomb. Any of those businesses, what they do is they create loans. So somebody can loan you $25. And then the expectation is at some point in your business, once it gets started, you're repaying that $25 to them. So obviously you need a whole bunch of people to give you $25, but that's what it's there for, to help you get started and be legitimate, instead of having your hand out like you would with a GoFundMe and being basically a bum with a tin can saying, I need money, I will work for food. But there are crowdfunding sources out there. Look for them. Now, there are grants. I'm going to say this is the very last thing. There are grants, but grants are not infinite money. So anytime you see something that says everyone approved, it's a scam, because everyone can't possibly be approved. Otherwise, everyone would just get money and no one would work. They say everyone approved, so they get people that are down on their luck thinking, oh, look, I can finally get a grant because everyone's approved and my background won't matter. And for the low price of $200, we guarantee you'll get money. And of course, once that $200's paid and you get your little crappy application, if they even give you one, and they go away and just reset up the ad under a different name and just do the same process over and over and over. They're more diligent at running a business than many people are, because they know all I need is 10 people to give me $100. That's $1,000 that I can close down, set up a new account tomorrow. That's work. Of course, they're taking advantage of people, but they are doing something over and over to generate money. So there are grants. The grants that you're going to look for are going to have finite amounts. So they're going to say $10,000, $5,000, $2,500, even $1,000 grant. So you could stack a bunch of those together to maybe get your food truck or to get your business off the ground. But in each one of those cases, there's going to be an application process. They're going to want to know your story, because especially for the bigger amounts, the companies that are giving those grants, like FedEx, for example, they're going to want to use you as an advertising piece. Oh, look at this person's awesome story. And then they share your story. And of course, they are going to frame that story around how awesome they are for having given you some them a bit of money to get the business started or to help the business grow. So if you're going to look for grants, there are legitimate places to look for them. Certainly the local government. Go to any big business in your town and see on their website, do they have a section about grants? You have to do the legwork. I promise you the legwork is not some nut on Facebook saying, everyone approved. SBA has released millions of dollars. No payback required. I can promise you, anyone that does a legitimate grant doesn't need to advertise. They will have more applicants than they can give the money to. Remember, the money's going to be finite. They will have set aside $100,000, let's say, and it's going to be broken up into smaller amounts for the different grant winners. And that's it. Could be 10 people getting $10,000. Could be one getting 50 and then the others getting 2,500 or whatever. The point is there will be a finite amount, and they don't want to advertise to disappoint a whole bunch of people. They want to have enough applications where they can make a good choice and get the best person that represents whatever their grant is supposed to represent. But they don't want to have 1 million people apply for it to have 900,000 disappointed people. That's not how grants work. So they don't need to advertise. You're not going to see grants on Facebook. If you do, it's a scam. It's an automatic scam. So here's the bottom line. Always fully understand whatever terms and obligations you're going to be required to meet no matter what funding methods you choose. If you get a loan, you got to pay it back. If you self-fund, you are effectively creating a loan for yourself, and your business should pay you back. If you do the Kickstarter, for example, there's some programs that they do that want you to give benefit to the people that give you money. Benefit could be something small like a t-shirt or a stuffed animal. It could be naming a menu product after them. But they're wanting you to do something to earn the money that's going to be donated. And certainly a grant's going to want to know about you as a person, you as a business, and they're going to use your images and your story to kind of promote themselves. But there's money out there. You got to look for it. But you're not going to find it asking people on a Facebook group, how do you get started? I ain't got no money. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding everything helpful that we do, please consider subscribing. And if you really love what we do, show some support. There's a link in the description to make that happen. Until next time, you guys have a profitable week.